everyone. So this is my first attempt at a podcast. Why am I doing this? I want to expand what I'm doing on the channel. I'm getting into different areas of things. Like I'm actually going out and performing again, which I'm shocked about. But yeah, so I wanted to like highlight things that are going on around me. So I want this is going to be a little more personal of a podcast or of a thing. It's not going to be based just on how to record stuff. We're going to go further with this than that. And I there's a lot of great talented people out there who are relatively unknown. Some of them might say, no, I'm very well known, but I would disagree. And then there's YouTube channels which I feel deserve more viewership. Let's just put it that way. Like, and so I'm going to try to talk to these people. I'm going to do interviews. We're going to talk about stuff, like about our personal lives and stuff, and try to maybe get somebody to say, hey, I'm gonna watch your show. That would be awesome. That would make things so much better. So first off, what I'm going to do is I'm always going to discuss what gear I'm using, because we are still a gear oriented channel. So for this first podcast, I am using my CAD M177 microphone. It is going into my ART USB Mix 4, and it's going directly into the computer from the USB, and I'm recording with OBS. So I don't know how podcasts work on YouTube. I'm doing this on YouTube in the YouTube podcast section. I don't know whether the video matters or not, but I'm doing video. I wasn't going to originally, but then I thought, you know what, I'll do video anyways. So that's where I'm going with this now. So let's talk about, my first thing is about trolls. I want to talk about trolls because I don't get a lot of trolls, but sometimes you get one it's just an absolute jerk. And I think people don't seem to realize something. I have been working in computers since I was 12. I started on a VIC-20 of all things. And I do follow, and I do know how to find out who you are, believe it or not. And I do go to it. There's degrees. There's degrees on how far I go with this. But I do go to, if somebody puts a comment on the site, good or bad, doesn't matter. I go to their channel and I go look, and I'm curious. I want to know what are you doing with your equipment? What are you recording, or what are you interested in? There's I've talked to guys who they do like live record or live stage equipment. That's their channel. That's what they talk about, and it's beautiful. That's great. Another guy does car audio. I think that's great. I've always thought about putting a better stereo in my car, but I don't know. It's just one of those things I've never done. And and there's all these people out there, and I always enjoy to know what you work on. Like, what are you doing? What are you interested in? There's like one guy, he has car videos. Like, he just he enjoys cars. So that's great. I think that's awesome. But ever so often you get these people who feel they are much better than you and that they can do a better job than you, but they're not. And then they get angry because they can do a better job than you, so therefore they're telling you they can do a better job than you, but they're not doing it, which is really, 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 really sad. I'm just going to say it. It's sad. It's just, you're not, great. You know more than I do. Then you know what? Spend the time. You set it up and share your knowledge. People would love that if you did that. That's what I'm doing. I'm sharing my knowledge. I'm not the greatest at this. I know that I ramble on about things. I know that I go in different directions all the time. I know this. And the thing is, because I've had people say, well, I want you to get to the point. Well, the problem is I can't just get to the point when you want me to get to the point, but then there's another person who wants to know more about that little thing that I'm talking about, and then there's another person who actually wants me to prove that that little thing that I was talking about actually does something. So there's, you know, there's different levels of this, and I think that's the first thing people seem to forget, because I know when I did my what on the Model 24, what goes through the main, what goes through the sub, what goes through the monitors and all that stuff, like what goes through the different channels. You know, people are like, you should have just done main, and then sub. Well, there's people who said, I don't believe you. I can hear this through the subs when I do this, and it's like, well, then I have to prove it. So that's why I do that. That's why I do extra long videos. That's why I do this stuff. You know, it's not just a simple, oh, I can just go main. No, not everybody's going to want that. Not everybody is you. And, you know, I try my best to explain everything, and I try my best to stay focused on what I'm explaining, because I know I'm bad at it. So that's my first thing here. So, but this one guy, I feel really bad for him. The way I look at him is, he never got the life he wanted. He's got to be about in his 60s or 70s now. Really, he actually pinpointed on one of my videos the minute that I made a mistake, and that was when he decided, this is when I'm going to start my rant. And he ranted on about the fact that I was not using proper terms, I was not using all these other things. And the thing is, I'm using the terms that are on the machine. And so, yes, if you're using a different machine, why you would be watching my video on my machine, I don't know. But yes, my terms may be different. I'm sorry. I'm using what I know on the machine. So that was really annoying right there. And the thing is that he, so of course I went and looked at his channel. He had 3 videos up, and you know, he didn't like my voice, doesn't like my voice. So I went, and he has 3 videos up on his channel, and he doesn't do any talking in any of them. They're very short, and he just, everything is all text. So he puts a text, this is what I did, this is what, so great. And it's all, you know, and so I'm like, all right. So, but then I noticed he had a website on his list, so I clicked on that. It's always dangerous if you have a website. And he goes on and talks about that he was, you know, he was one of the most sought after producers in the 80s, and he worked with 40 bands. He never named any of the bands, so it's like, okay, I can say something like that and then never talk about it. I worked with 5 different bands in the 90s, but you know, I'm not going, and if I don't name them, then it's irrelevant. It's like, okay, great for you. Like, do you have like any significant names in there? And he calls himself by his initials, which makes me laugh, because his initials, and he says he's been using it for 30 years. His initials are used by a very famous singer. So it's like, you know, that doesn't work. So he puts the artist in front of it. So then of course, me being who I am, I go and I dig deeper and deeper and deeper, find him. I found him on the Tascam forums. He likes to comment on stuff. Great. I think that's great. You're helping other people. Perfect. Then he has a song out that he released in the 90s, because he talks about it, and he talks about that it got a lot of spins on the radio stations that would play it. So what does that mean? Well, that means that there might have been one radio station that played it, and they played it 37 times in one day. That's what that means. That's okay. All right. So, but yeah, he talks about, he says that because at the time that he released it in 1995, or actually 1993. He says that, and because of the times, it was all rap oriented, never, you know. So the fact that he did this, it's like, no, it was not rap oriented. There was a huge alternative market. You had the grunge scene that was still going in 93. I know this because I was playing back then. I was listening to that, you know, and you had all this other stuff. The problem with his song was it was already dated before it came out. It it was an 80s sounding song. It was, it it wasn't relevant. It was not very good. So you're taking all these other things and you're saying, well, this is why it didn't work. Well, it's like me releasing a song now. I know my songs for my dear friend. They were written in the early '90s. They're very grunge and '90s oriented, and so like people who enjoy that music, they like it and they listen to it. I'm glad they do. I have a nice following on Spotify for that. So, but the thing is, why are you worrying? Why are you worrying so much? Like, honestly, I wouldn't be talking about this if you hadn't have gone onto my site and attacked me. Like, that's all it is. Just chill yourself. Who cares? Just chill, relax. You're not as big as you'd hoped you'd be. Okay. We all had big dreams when we were younger. I thought I was going to be somebody, I thought I was going to be like touring and everything. That never happened, but I'm happy now. I look at where I am. I look at what I've got. I look at my family life. I look at my regular job, which I love. I look at what I'm doing now. I can't be happier. I'm enjoying my life as it is. I'm not attacking it. I don't go onto sites and attack people. If I feel that there's something that you can improve, I will tell you. Such as on one site, he's doing videos of local bands, and one thing I found was that because he generally tends to interview the band in the bar where he watched them, it's very loud. And I said, I love your videos, but I think you need to, take that part of it out of the thing. Maybe like interview them later at some date and then just put that in. That would work much better. The video recordings he does are great. The sound quality when he's got the bands playing is great. It sounds good, it's just when he does the interview part, it's hard to hear these people because of where it is and how it is being recorded. So yeah, that's where I'm standing on that. So that's what I call constructive criticism. So when somebody says to me, "You're rambling," and I will go, "You're right. I am. I do. I know this, and I'm trying not to." So yeah, I just want to put that out there. Like that's a personal thing for me. Like I said, I don't get a lot of trolls. I laugh when I get dislikes, especially when I did the short for what I felt was the most important piece of equipment for a studio, and it was a battery backup. And I got 2 dislikes for that. I got lots of likes, but 2 dislikes, and I'm like, why? How can you dislike that? It is the most important piece of equipment. It saves everything else. It's like the fact that the printing press is the most important piece of most important invention ever for music, because it allowed people to actually transpose music and give it to other people. It's like, why? That is the most important thing. I'm sorry. That is the most important thing, is the battery backup. Everybody should have a battery backup for their equipment. And the biggest reason is because if power goes out, or if you get just a shortcut, you can break something. That's why. But whatever. Whatever. It's like, okay, so you didn't like that video. I'm sorry. So let's talk about goals. Everybody has their own set of goals. I'm going to talk about mine for a minute. So my original goal with this was to actually get enough subscribers and get enough views and get enough everything to actually quit my job at the time and just do this full time. Honestly, and the biggest reason for that was because I hated my job. I hated my job at that time. I would have left happily, and my job after that, that still would have been my goal, because I was not fond of that job. I liked the people I worked with, but the one place was more or less their idiotic policies, and the next place was the owner of the company. He did not like me, and because of that, he made everything difficult. He made my working there very difficult, and it was kind of funny that in the end I was the last developer to leave, considering he hated me, and he would have gotten rid of me a few years later if somebody hadn't quit. So it is quite funny. So that's the way it is. But yeah, my goals have changed now. I don't think I want to do this full time. I do enjoy recording. I think if I had like a lot of people to work with, and I was recording them more, I would probably be like, yeah, I wouldn't mind doing this full time. And if they were good, like if there wasn't a lot of hassles recording them, then yeah, I would be like, yeah, I would happily record. I'd happily do that. I would enjoy that. But it's not turning out that way, and honestly, I'm okay with that. I've come to terms with that part of my life, that I'm not going to be the grand, I'm not going to be the famous musician or the famous producer. I don't care anymore. It doesn't matter. I'm happy being me. I don't walk into a place and act like I'm the biggest thing around, because it's not really worth it. I walk into a place and I look at everybody as equals, and I think that's very important. That's the biggest, one of the biggest takeaways that I've seen, because I think really COVID, I've seen the worst in people. When COVID hit, I've seen the worst in people, and I didn't want to become that, and I'm still seeing in a lot of cases the worst of people, and so I feel that just me being pleasant, happy, friendly, it in some small way, it changes a person's life. And I actually brought that up because that one guy who I knew from high school, who he found me on Facebook, and he told me, because of the way you were, you made me feel better about myself. And I was like, well, that really touched me. I was like, yeah, well, I'm glad I did some, it just strengthened and reinforced the fact that the way I'm acting to other people is the way that, everybody should. We need more people to be out there, friendly, happy, and courteous. Courteous is very important, and it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter who you're talking to. Courtesy, just Now there's always going to be a jerk in that, but courtesy's good. Courtesy's good. So now the last thing I want to talk about today. This is a short video. Like I said, I'm hoping to get more people involved in this. This is just me talking to you because I don't really have anybody else to do this. It's also my birthday today, so if you've watched it to this point, then this is where I'm at with this. So the last one is, how do I measure success? Well, I think I just went through with my goals. At one point, I would have measured success being the most famous person in the world. It was kind of funny. I was in a band with the guy, and his measurement of success was that everybody in town knew who he was. And I think he actually hit that goal. So, and then let's see what else is there. That's how I measure success. I think it depends. Like, do I feel that I'm successful? I do feel that I'm successful. I have gone somewhere with everything I've done. I've gone, I've finished recordings. I've done massive, I've done videos, and I'm not comparing myself to others. I do have a friend who, I don't know, his measurement of success is different than mine. He has a YouTube channel. He has been doing it for 10 years, where I've been doing it for, I think I'm on my 5th year. He's got thousands of videos, and he hasn't even broken 1,000. And when I started, he was at 500, and I was like, wow. I thought he was way further along than that. And so yeah, like it all depends on things. So how do you measure success? I measure it by the fact that I'm still alive, I'm enjoying what I'm doing, I'm happy. So I'm successful as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, this was a 20-minute podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm hoping to do more over the coming months, and I will talk to you later. Bye.